was the first time you heard of Medgar Evers?
So it is actually probably surprising to know, as someone who grew up in Mississippi, that I didn't hear about Medgar Evers until I was in college and I went out of state for school. That's something that I kind of struggled with for a long time, that I didn't know the civil rights history of my own state. And I think it's a testament to public education, especially in Mississippi. But I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I got to go to college, learn about who Medgar Evers was, and learn about some other very important things in the Mississippi civil rights movement, like Freedom Summer, which I didn't know about either.
Now, how does that make you feel that, some of those gaps are there when it comes to telling history? It's already happened, it's just recorded fact, but there are, people who make decisions where these things are left out.
It's easy to blame it on the communities that these public schools are in, and I definitely think that's a factor of it. A lot of people in my community didn't want to have conversations about civil rights. And so anytime that was brought up in school, the teacher was immediately silenced. But I don't think it's just that. I think a lot of it has to do with the public education system in general. Medgar Evers was not on the state test until I was in 11th grade. Nothing about civil rights was on the state test. And if it wasn't on the state test, it wasn't worth teaching in school. And so I think what I want to see and what I think it's going to take is changing of that curriculum. Either put it on the state test or figure out another way where we find value in learning about things that we're not being tested for standardized testing on.
Now, taking it outside of school, were there people in your community or maybe in your family that would kind of talk about civil rights from time to time, and what were some of the things that they would kind of bring up?
Unfortunately, civil rights was not really a conversation in my community. I think there's a lot of spots in Mississippi and in the rural South as a whole where civil rights is not a part of the conversation. And so a lot of the civil rights education I got in high school was me learning on my own, looking things up after class. Again, all that I learned was what I was being tested on. So I had a list of vocab words. Who was Dr. Martin Luther King? What was the Black Panther movement? But I didn't learn much beyond that, except what I would go on and teach myself. But I think it's going to take people from these communities standing up and saying this is a conversation that we want to have before anything is going to change.
Now, with some of the things that you have learned, can you talk about the role that young people play in the civil rights movement of 2025?
Mm-hmm. So in college, I learned specifically about the Freedom Summer movement, which is where college students from around the nation were brought into Mississippi to do civil rights work. And I think that's something a lot of us forget about, is the power of college students, high school students, and even younger than that. We do play a big role because we a lot of the times have the platform to be activists, to speak out about what we care most about. I think a big part of what my generation is able to utilize is social media. We're able to show our family and our friends the issues we care about. We're able to spread information more easily about the issues that we're passionate about.
One more question. And yesterday I had an opportunity to talk with Millie Jean Brown from the Little Rock Nine, who helped integrate Arkansas public schools. And I asked her a question about being chosen to become one of the Little Rock Nine. And she said they weren't chosen, they volunteered. Speak about, to other young people, the power of not waiting for someone to give permission and just doing what you see needs to be done.
I think a lot of the struggles that young people face in becoming activists for what they care about, a lot of it has to do with fear. Fear for disappointing the people who've raised you, the people around you. Fear that someone with more authority or more knowledge will look down upon you. And I also don't just think it's fear. I think a lot of our culture puts young people down and says you're not in a place to make this stand. You don't know enough. You don't have enough on the line for your voice to mean anything. And I think that's the complete opposite of the truth. If anything, because we're young, we have the most to stand up for. A lot of these people, when they speak about issues that they care about, it might not affect them. It's going to affect their children. It's going to affect us. And that's why we should stand up as early as we can. And as someone who's a Christian, the Bible says do not fear 365 times. Every day I wake up and that's the message I have to tell myself. For the things I care about, do not fear and stand up.